guys.
Yeah. And we're back.
Hello.
I'm with Mr. Outside the Builds.
Hey guys, it's Jack from Outside the Builds here with Zach from
Marshall Ness,
Marshall Ness.
I guessed.
Yeah. Gonna get that profile picture done soon, eh?
Yeah, definitely. He's gonna also be the guy doing our emblem. Anyways, we're doing a collab because you make like prop swords.
Yeah,
right.
So prop swords that mainly rely on looks, not functionality.
Yeah, like cosplay stuff.
Yeah, well, on your channel, it's mainly functionality.
The functionality.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be I'm gonna be reviewing them in a sense to see how like the designs.
Yes.
If they were functional, what they'd be like.
That would be nice, yeah, because as you know, I design props and wall displays, but I have never once, while making one, does this work?
Does this work?
But I like the way it looks, not how it works. So it'd be nice if we have an expert, look at some of the stuff I've built over on my channel.
Last time we tried to test a weapon he made, he broke a baton on me.
Yeah. So we won't be actually testing them, but it'll be more of the like theoretical functionality.
Theoretical usage.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the first one we got?
All right, so I guess we'll start with the ones that are sticking out. So the first one we got here doesn't have a scabbard, unfortunately, but this would be the realistic take on a Minecraft diamond sword.
Ooh. So what did you use to make this?
So the edge, like the edge outside blade, is polycarbonate plastic.
Polycarbonate.
And the inside reverse fuller is a wooden dowel.
So did you like melt it or carve it? Or?
It is like completely carved with a Dremel and then lined with hot glue and resin.
Well, it's actually, despite the materials, not a bad weight.
That's good.
This is probably like, it's light, but still,
Yeah.
it's not as light as you would think. This is probably like, what, 400 or 500 grams?
I actually don't know the weight.
If I had to guess, it's
But
probably something like that.
I guess I could tell you that most of the weight is in the pommel because the pommel's actually made of glass.
Oh.
Yeah.
How'd you attach, is this just glue? Like glue resin?
Yeah, it is glued on there with a combination of resin and different super glues.
How did you make the hilt?
So the hilt's actually PVC pipe and wrapped with a synthetic leather there. The guard is also heat formed to that shape.
Out of more of that plastic?
More polycarbonate, yeah.
And what exactly is polycarbonate?
So polycarbonate is a lightweight ballistic plastic glass that can stop a 9mm.
So you're saying I can use this
at a specific
to
distance
deflect a 9mm bullet?
From far enough away, maybe. Yeah, so polycarbonate is actually like a very little resistance ballistic plastic. It's typically used for face shields, for like
Law
woodworking.
enforcement?
Actually, riot shields in law enforcement. Very expensive material, though.
How much did this cost you to make?
The sheet that I use is $80.
Ooh.
But I still have quite a bit of it left. But yeah, I guess to sum up the design, the outer blade is polycarbonate, the reversed fuller is a wooden dowel, everything is secured with hot glue and resin, heat formed guard, PVC pipe, hilt, a full tang, by the way.
Good.
And then a glass pommel and synthetic leather wrap, which is super glued in place.
And so how long did this take you to make?
That took 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
So,
About an hour of work a day, roughly.
And I imagine a lot of that's downtime of letting everything settle and dry?
Exactly. A lot of it is paint and glue drying.
Ah.
I think 3 days alone. I think 72 hours of it is set time. Yeah.
So comparing it to whatever I have on hand here, it's actually not. It's a little shorter.
I think it's a 26-inch blade.
26?
Yeah, I think.
That seems a bit short for 26. Because this has a 34-inch blade.
Oh, okay.
So this is probably like 32 around there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they don't feel very different. This one just has a bit more weight to it, if you want to compare the two.
Sure, yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. And I think a lot of it's in the pommel on mine.
Well, let's see, because historically, some pommels were used as a counterbalance if there's too much weight in the blade. So this is actually very good, the point of balance. You want it around here.
That's good.
Because that allows it to be not too far up, so the tip legs are not too far back, so you have to really force it. The sword wants to move, in a sense.
Okay. That's cool.
I think Steve would be proud of this.
That's nice. That's good to know. It's Steve approved.
Steve approved.
That's good.
What's the next one we got?
All right. So the next one we got here would be the Legend of Zelda Master Sword
Ooh.
with the full scabbard as well.
Ooh. So how'd you make this scabbard?
So the scabbard is 100% pine, hot glued, 4 pieces total. Then all the detailing on the scabbard is done in EVA foam.
EVA foam. That's what you use a lot for like your outfits and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
most of my armors are actually constructed from EVA foam floor mat.
And I imagine this is just some belt you purchased.
That is just a belt that I got from a hardware store.
So what did you use for?
So that
the
is all.
hilt here?
That's all wood as well, actually.
Wood as well, and I imagine
Wooden
Right.
wooden pommel, PVC pipe, hilt, or I guess you could say the handle would be PVC pipe, and then that is a shoelace as the wrap there.
shoelace as the wrap. So how'd you get this decal with gold and diamond on it? What is that?
That is also wood that I just carved by hand.
So all this was carved by hand?
100%, yeah.
Ooh.
No power tools on this one.
Ooh, impressive. So what did you use to make the blade on it?
So the blade is also wood, but it's completely carved with a box cutter. So like a utility knife.
So is this all one piece?
It is actually. So it all goes down into here, and then if you look very closely at the seams, there's just thinner wood put on the sides.
I noticed this seam here. Were these just glued on?
That is also just like glued on details.
Ah.
Yeah. So this is it's almost one piece, as well as it has the full tang through the PVC, and that's actually why I use PVC pipe as most of my handles, is because you can just slide the tang right through without having to do too much more work.
Okay. This one I'm immediately noticing is shorter.
Yeah.
It's as if Child Link used
It
the
is
Master
actually,
Sword.
yeah, this is actually a 1-to-1 scale of the Master Sword.
Really?
Yeah.
It was this small in Ocarina?
I don't know in Ocarina because in the games it does
Yeah.
vary, but based off what I was going off of when I googled Master Sword length, I believe, I'm pretty sure this would be the smallest one I don't know which game, to, memory, that this is a scale to one of the swords.
Scale to one of them, okay.
At least the blade length
It's probably like
is what I can give you.
4 Trains Epic Adventure or something. I don't know
The
a lot of the
little train that
extended.
could.
The little train that could.
Yeah.
I'm not too versed on the extended Zelda games.
Yeah.
I've done like Ocarina, Majora's Mask, and Twilight
Yeah.
Princess.
The only thing I can tell you for sure, though, is that this blade length is, I guess, canon to one of the games.
Canon to one of the games. I guess we gotta find out Link's height now.
Yeah.
So did you just carve in the
I did just
Triforce?
carve in the Triforce, yeah.
This one, let's see. Yeah, that's about where you want it. So it still moves very well. Surprisingly, it's a little bit, not as lighter as I would think than the Diamond Sword. So how much work went into this one?
This one took about a month, actually.
About a month.
And all of that pretty much went into the hand carving.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you.
If I were to compare that, I'd probably grab this side sword here. You notice the blades, again, a little bit shorter.
A very short blade on the Master Sword, yeah.
But it's not that different. They both have the complex-ish style hilts. Yeah, assuming this is a canonical size, that's pretty good for a prop sword. And how much did this one cost you?
To make, actually very little. Most of what I paid for it was probably $3 on the shoelace. And then I think all the wood, because I just bought a huge board, I think it was $7. So it costed just a little over $10 to make.
Wow.
Because I do have bulk foam and a lot of materials on hand most of the time. So I guess most of what it costs is in time rather than money.
The scabbard is immediately what drew my attention on it. This looks like more assembly went into it, but more carving went into this.
100%, yeah. A lot of time went into gluing the pieces of that scabbard together.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know how much the scabbard weighs on hand?
I think complete. It's a little under a pound. Complete. I'm not too sure.
It feels like 800, 900 grams ish. That's like around a pound.
I would take your word for it for sure. You'd know a little more than me on that.
So because the blade is thick, the scabbard has to be thick, so they're
Exactly.
a little overbuilt. But of course that's necessary because of the material used.
Yeah, 100%. If I was going for a metal blade, the scabbard would have been much smaller. But I don't work with metal. Yeah.
All right. What else we have?
All right. Next one we got, because I can see it, is the Fallout inspired shish kebab.
Ooh, Fallout. So how many did you bring?
There's 5 swords in total.
5 swords in total. So I didn't bring a katana out, but I imagine everyone who watches this knows what a katana looks like.
I would hope so.
I've always liked the... Is it wrong to call it steampunk almost?
You could call it steampunk.
I've always liked the steampunk aesthetic. Ooh, I like... This is just like glue caps, isn't it?
Those are glue caps.
Those are glue... I know those anywhere.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is... So... This one's very light.
Yes. It is almost completely hollow.
Really?
The handle, at least, because it's literally a cardboard tube that I strengthened with glue. There's batteries in the bottom because this blade actually does light up.
Oh, so how'd you manage that?
So I gutted a lightsaber toy, took the LED strip, I took the actual lightsaber blade, heat gunned it, flattened it into this shape,
Oh.
but I kept the LEDs in there. So in the dark, this blade, even though it's silver, the first coat of paint on the inside is orange. So this paint is thin enough that in the dark, this glows red, almost like it was red hot.
Oh, that's interesting. So how long? I imagine this one took you a significant more amount of time.
It actually didn't. This one took about a week.
A week? Wow. And I imagine the blade's that polycarbonate?
The blade is
No, it's that plastic, right? The lightsaber.
it is
I meant
plastic, but those are that there is a wooden dowel. That is a pencil, and because I ran out of wooden dowel, and it's just painted copper.
And what'd you use for the... Was this the lightsaber handle?
Yeah. So what I did actually is
Oh.
I kept part of the lightsaber handle with the wiring, so I could still have it powered with its batteries. And there's just a little bit of elastic here to keep everything nice and closed.
And so what'd you use for...
That is those tubes that super glue comes in. From the cap, yep.
Well.
Nothing gets wasted on my channel.
It's all coming together. Is this just a wrap of like tape?
That is, I believe starting down here, it was a coat hanger. And then the rest of it is a thin piece of foam wrapped in tape. But if I was to do this again with what I've learned, because this sword I think is 2 years old, I would have heat formed this out of plastic. Now that I know how to do that.
So how old is this?
This one's a couple years old at least. I'd have to check in my. I have everything documented, so I'd have to check what exact date I made this.
And the diamond sword was your newest one, yes?
The newest one you actually haven't seen yet. That's the second newest one. I'm gonna save that one for last.
We'll compare the oldest to the newest.
Sounds good.
So what are these here?
So those are the buttons that actually will turn your lights on and off.
May I?
Yeah, sure. So
Button.
it'll probably hard to see.
Button. Yeah, because it's dark.
Because it is. Yeah, it would have to be sort of darker too. I can actually tell that they're on. But if you were to hit that,
I'm sure we can just get Eric, our editor and resident ginger, to add a picture.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll probably end up doing. So I can do some editing if you'd like. I'll throw up a picture.
All right. Yeah, just send it
Yeah.
and we'll get it in there.
No problem.
This one's nice.
I'm assuming the weight is not going to be very well distributed.
No, certainly not.
No way.
It's like well in here, which if
Yeah.
it was metal, it wouldn't cut very well.
100%. Yeah.
And because you have this one, I'm going to go into like nitpicking the actual
Go
shish
nuts.
kebab here,
Yeah.
not the actual prop. But because a lot of the weight, even in the sharp one, would be concentrated in the hilt, I
Yeah.
imagine, because of all this.
Yes.
The weight's far back. And because you have all of this, it adds additional resistance. So getting through a target would be very difficult.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the shish kebab in a while, but I believe that would hold true for it. All right. I'm ready to get Sean now.
Bring me back my son.
Bring me back. We were in a vault.
Vault
Vault 111.
Okay, this is my personal favorite right here. This is the only sword I've ever named. This is Fox Fang.
Fox Fang. Fitting. Wonder where you got that. That's Latin, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one immediately felt weird. Yep, that's why.
Yeah.
It's all in the guard.
It is 100% wood. It has a very minimal tang. The almost all of the work went into the actual guard.
Oh, I can certainly tell that.
And I did actually follow the same method. I made this one right after the Master Sword, so a lot of techniques stayed relevant with hand carving it, except this time all the serrations were done with a Dremel.
I imagine it's supposed to be like the Flamberge style blade, right? Like
Yeah.
the waves?
Yeah, actually, while I was building the sword, you gave me advice on that design.
I think I remember that. If I recall, this is 3 pieces, right? The guard, then 2 sides are sandwiched on. I think.
Yes, exactly.
I like the hilt design here.
Thank you.
Especially this pommel here. I like that. Because that would work, assuming it was sharp. That actually indexes in your hand really nice.
Oh, that's good.
So let me show you how to do that. So if you take your left hand there, you'll notice it'll wrap on your thumb really nicely. So
Okay.
try that. It'll be with your left hand.
So with the left hand. Okay.
That indexes really well.
So that would give you a lot more control over the blade?
A lot of control, a lot of manipulation.
Okay. I never even thought of that, honestly.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Cool. Well, that was accidental on my part, but I'm glad it works.
And plus, this decaling on the grip allows you to switch it very
Okay.
easily. So with the indexing on that, you get a lot of control from this.
That's good.
That's actually a really good design.
Thank you.
So how'd you attach the blade to the... I noticed you have one of those... Is this a dowel?
That is a wooden dowel. So that's how the blade's attached, and that is the #1 flaw of this sword.
That's a weak point.
That is an insane.
That's a weak point.
Which is why this is on my wall, and not a prop that I would ever actually use at a convention or some sort of show. It is 100% a display piece because I made the mistake of doing it in 2 pieces. And with such a thin wooden dowel. Yeah, if I was to do it again, way thicker tang.
We'll put a picture of this on screen, but what does this say?
That's actually Latin for Fox Fang.
All of this?
Yeah.
Deus Volt, comrade.
Yeah. So it is poorly translated,
Poorly translated.
but so you got
That I recognize this as fox.
yeah. So it actually translates to Fang of the Fox.
And that looks like the Italian word dente, which means like tooth.
Yeah. So Saturni dente is Fang, and then I believe relicting is of the. So I think it's like Fang of the Fox is what it roughly ended up translating to. Because I don't use translate, so because it's not as reliable. So I went through a dictionary and did my best. So it may not be 100% accurate, but that was, I guess, my take on the Latin of it.
Latin of it. As I understand it, Latin is similar to Italian. And in Italian, I'm guessing I would say... I would know how to say, like, tooth of fox, but that's probably not what you're going for with... How do you say fang in Italian? I'll have to figure that out.
You know what? I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I can picture this if it was a real thing. What I actually kind of like is how the tip is not centered, so it's kind of at like the edge there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or not.
It was because the way I imagine the sword being wielded is more of it's got a pretty, like the front, I guess the front cutting edge would be, it's not like a double-edged sword mainly, it was more of a hold it one way.
Hold it one way.
If I don't know the terminology, but I guess almost the way you'd wield a katana, as in you only cut one way with it.
Alright, so single-edged.
Yes.
Alright, so I'll compare this again to the long sword. This one's very short.
Yeah.
For a one-handed sword, just scale this down. Obviously, we know what that looks like. Weight, this is absurdly light, and the balance is back. But from a design standpoint, I really like it. I really like this pommel.
I'm glad, yeah.
That's very nice. And how long does this one take you?
Carving the guard mainly, I think this one took roughly, I can just say a couple months because I know in the video I did on this sword, I did put the date in it, but I don't know from memory how long it did take. But most swords take
Several months.
They take up to a month because it's not constant work. It's quite on and off. So, but with the carving and everything, it typically it really depends on the sword. Like the diamond sword didn't take a whole lot of time compared to some of the swords where I put more carving into them.
And so this is your most recent?
No, actually, that one came right after the
Right after.
master
Oh,
sword.
master sword, not diamond
Yeah.
sword.
So it pretty much went master sword, like fox fang, the shish kebab, diamond sword, and then what we have in the bag.
Is that the last one?
That would be the last one.
All right. So far, diamond sword is still my favorite.
That's good. Yeah. Honestly, when I kind of thought about it, I'd say that one is the most practical.
One thing that I'm going to bring up on this, because I actually like it, is the shape of the grip is not round. I was going to save this till the end. So, you know, the grips on those are round.
Yeah.
This one is rectangular.
Yeah.
When a grip is round, you can't get a feel for where the edge is. Whereas if it's rectangular, you already know where the edge is.
Yeah.
So you have much better edge alignment.
Okay.
So I definitely take that into consideration on all of your blades.
Okay.
Not that it has an edge, but just because it also feels nicer.
Okay, cool.
All right. This one, the handle is my favorite. But the diamond sword, if we can bring that one back
Yeah, of course.
out. Comparing these two, I like the feel, the weight of this a lot more.
Yeah.
I like the blade. So if like you had a handle, not the guard, but the handle and pommel on something like this, that would probably be my favorite so far.
Okay, so if you took the handle of fox fang and put it on the blade of the diamond sword.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I think that would be great. All right. What's the next one we have?
Okay, the next one is actually the video I've been working on, where I haven't actually finished the scabbard yet, but this is the one I think you're going to find the most interesting. So this is based off the nail from Hollow Knight.
Nail from Hollow. I haven't played Hollow Knight, but I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, so this is just cardboard, isn't it?
That is cardboard, which is coated with about 3 layers of resin, just to give it some rigidity.
Rigidity. Okay. So what did you attempt to make with this?
So, I was attempting, because I did reach out to you and Eric about perhaps a rapier.
I believe our first immediate terms were don't.
But don't. So I said, okay. And then you guys mentioned side sword. So I started looking at pictures of side swords, but of course I wanted to keep it very, very relevant to the nail from Hollow Knight, which
Is the nail a rapier?
You know what? It's never specified, but the way I see them kind of wield it within the game, it's very, I guess you could say, eccentric, the way it's wielded.
Eccentric.
Or, I guess you could say, fancy.
Fancy.
Is the way I would put it. It almost should be a rapier, but, you know, it's never specified because they're bugs, so it is literally a nail. Like a hammer and nail.
Oh, okay.
And in the game, it's very plain. I'm not going to spoil the blade, but there would be none of this. It would just be straight. So I wanted to give it a bit more, like fancy look to it. So, and then of course the scabbard isn't done yet. It's going to get a full design and everything for the video. But I'm going to stop. I'm going to let you look at the blade.
Before that, I'm gonna pause the recording and get something which I think will match this as an antithesis. So I'm gonna take a look at this.
Yeah.
Then I'll bring out what I brought. So, ooh. So you got this at a garage sale, right?
I did get that at a garage sale. Yeah, it was an antique paint mixer.
It certainly smells of paint. I wonder why.
Yeah. What you're actually smelling is the resin, which it is coated with before painted back onto, and resin will take about a month before the smell goes away.
What you're actually smelling is the blood of all the insects I've
What
slain.
you're smelling is the blood of my enemies.
So I immediately like what this blade looks like. So how'd you go about creating this?
Alright, so with the paint mixer, it's essentially a metal pole that goes straight up to right there. And what I did was I took 2 pieces of EVA foam, carved out a nice channel for that pole, sandwiched them together, shape of a triangle. I then made my edge. I hardened the edge with resin so it could actually have some rigidity to it. I then sanded all that with, I used a lot of like power tools, so I used a hand sander because I wanted to get this as close game accurate as possible with my own guard design as well. But I tried to stay as true to the game as I could with the blade.
We'll have to put up a picture of the needle.
Yes, I will.
So to those of you more history savvy, if you know what the cinquedea is, it's a type of short double-bladed dagger that was used during the Renaissance. Imagine that on like a side sword hilt, and that's really what I'm feeling from this. And I actually kind of like that as like a realism-based fantasy design. Just picture like a wide dagger with a hilt kind of like this rapier here.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm actually really liking that. So how long did you work on this one?
So far, I've been working on it for about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah. I'm not really calling it done yet because the scabbard is kind of part of it. And I'd like to get that finished before I put up the video.
Ah. And so did you just wrap this with, is this fake leather or
That
real
is
leather?
real leather.
Real leather. And what's under that?
That is just like a bandage that because I did run out of leather, but I was a little bummed out. But then I was kind of happy. I thought it looked nice if it went from leather to a switch of material before it hit the pommel for a bit of contrast.
So how'd you get these decals on the blade?
I actually used a soldering iron to do that, and we were talking about it earlier before recording. But in the game, it's basically a 2D side-scrolling Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But it's
Because
actually
everything's Dark Souls now.
Yes, it's actually supposed to mimic Damascus.
Oh.
So like the swirls that the metal has, but it's very cartoony. So I was trying to kind of get a nice mix of real-looking Damascus with the deep cuts of the game, but keeping it almost looking carved.
So I'm hearing this is the Dark Souls of all your projects.
This is, I think, the closest to a Dark Souls build I've done.
Ah. Yeah, this is... I'll save my thoughts on it until we compare it, but what I brought out was this small sword here. That's what it reminded me of.
Which is a sword I really like, because after playing quite a great deal of Hollow Knight, there is a character called Quirrell who wields a sword basically exactly like that.
Ah.
So I thought it was a really nice comparison to what I have here.
Yeah. The hilt's more similar to a rapier, but the blade length
Yes.
is what brought this to mind. So it's kind of like a choppy, small sword. Like
It
I
is
said,
incredibly small, yeah, which is true to the game. It's a very small sword.
like the cinquedea I brought
Yeah.
up.
If you could even call it a sword at that point. I'm not sure what classifies sword from dagger.
There is no great decree. You could either call this a long dagger or a short sword.
Okay.
Basically, if you could carry it like during the day and nothing else, it's a sword.
Okay.
In obviously Renaissance or medieval times, where you're using one of these.
Yeah.
Not one of these, but like fantasy almost.
Nice.
If I could walk around with this and nothing else, that would be a sword.
Okay.
But if it was short enough that I didn't feel comfortable with just that, I'd pick something else.
You got it.
So that's more or less how it works.
Yeah. And I'm assuming one thing you've noticed about this one compared to my other builds is the weight.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Wasp. Anyway, I don't want to get stung during recording.
Oh, it's a fly, don't worry.
Oh, it's a fly?
Yes.
So if you want to hold both of these.
Of course, yeah.
Are you sure it's a fly? Because I'll swat it if it's a fly.
Yeah, it's a fly.
It likes how sweaty and gross I am.
It's really just hanging out. Oh, yeah. So
Away.
the weight's actually surprisingly similar.
It weighs... This obviously weighs more because it's upscale, but I brought this because the weight's going to be centered back more.
Yes. I'm actually gonna get a better hold on it. Okay. Yeah, I immediately like the weight of this one much better. Yeah. And a lot of the problem with that is that there is a thick iron bar running up the blade completely.
With your expensive plunger.
Yeah, with my expensive $5 plunger. Nice, yeah.
Nice.
Take that back. But yeah. This one was actually fairly simple to build.
Because it's just like two pieces and then a bit of wrapping, right?
Yeah, and actually it was very little construction on my end. Most of this was painting and weathering and stuff. The pommel is actually a bought piece as well. I believe it's a door stopper.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never seen a door stopper.
I did
that.
like the shape of it though. That's why I put it on there.
It's clearly not designed for my massive man hands.
Yeah, that's why I call it the wrist breaker.
Oh.
That
yeah,
would
I
break
get
your
you.
wrist. Yeah.
That would suck. Yeah. You could, if you really wanted to file that down, to make them a bit thinner.
I do still have to, yeah.
Or not even the full thing, but if you want to just create a little like crescent in there almost to add enough space for a knuckle.
Just to make it a little more ergonomic, right?
Yeah, because if I move my hand down a bit more, that would fit pretty well. Mm-hmm. And obviously, since your hands are smaller than mine, if we compare for a minute,
oh yeah,
that'll be a lot easier for you to use.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll get my two favorites. So this one and the diamond sword for now. From a sheer, like, if I were to picture this as a real sword, I really like this.
Okay.
From a sheer design standpoint and recreation, this is my favorite.
Okay.
If this had, like, the squared off handle, this one would definitely take the cake.
Okay.
But these two.
So if you had to do a list from the most, like, based
practical?
on practical to least practical, how would you put that?
So if it was like a real sword.
Yes.
And obviously we're ignoring like simple flaws like hands too big or sword.
I will let you classify it however you see fit. If these were real swords.
Real swords.
Yeah. How well would they fare? Best to worst.
In what kind of scenario?
I guess
like day carry or warfare.
Probably based on what they're mainly built for.
Like the games and stuff.
Yeah, like probably more warfare.
So what are you doing in Hollow Knight? Like what are you fighting mostly?
Basically,
Eldritch gods.
Very similar to Dark Souls. Of things that are much bigger than you and can kill you a lot easier than you can kill it.
Do they wear armor?
They do.
So it's a nice blade that's very pointed, so you can drive it through like chainmail and stuff.
It's a very rugged armor, as like most of their armor is like shell because they're bugs.
So this would be very good because you can grab it to stab in the armor, but also because a lot of the weight's centered back here. This is a historical technique, but you can grab swords like this and hit with that to crack armor.
Weapon. Yeah.
So if you crack the armor with that, and then you hold it backwards, which is historical, like a rondelle dagger almost, and drive that in. So if you actually made this a disc almost,
make it a bit more
wider to do this.
Yeah.
You can't even do it like this if you put your thumb up.
Okay.
That'd be very like practical.
Yeah.
So if you're stabbing, getting a weak point or something, if you stab and they parry your point offline, and you quickly switch and hit with that, then use that opportunity to stab. That would work very well.
So would you say that the almost comical triangle blade is actually practical?
Oh, these existed in history. Like it's a bit thicker than you'd expect, obviously, because of the foam. But these did exist.
Okay.
Blades like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very like practical. And assuming like realistic fantasy.
Yeah.
If I was fighting people in armor like shells and stuff, this would work really well. I like this.
I'm glad that I was able to almost like mirror it after a real sword. That's nice to know. I had no idea anything like that was even historically accurate. And what'd you say it was called, a cinquedea?
Cinquedea, yes.
Nice.
It's a type of just short sword or long knife.
Okay. I'll have to put up a picture in my video.
Yeah, we'll put it up.
For sure. I'm sure you'll find one.
Next will be the diamond sword. You'll probably want this.
Sure, yeah.
I won't comment on the scabbard because it's not finished.
Yeah. I'll make sure to send you a picture once it's done.
So if I was good old Steve, doing what Steve does... God, I haven't played Minecraft in ages. If you're fighting monsters, you don't really know what you're going to be like encountering, right?
Exactly.
So if you know The Witcher, right?
I do.
What kind of sword did Geralt use?
That is a
long sword.
A long sword, I would say. Straight sword.
Straight sword? Yeah, that would work. That's what a lot of people call them. So Steve, I'm going to compare Steve to Geralt real quick.
Sure.
But
very similar roles.
Yeah, they're fighting monsters. They're surviving out in the wilderness a lot. Swords like these.
Steve is Geralt.
Steve
confirmed?
is Geralt confirmed. So if this was like actual metal and it was sharp and all that.
Yeah.
Like long swords are easy to maintain. They're easy to use.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that can go wrong in it. So yeah, if I was out in the wilderness not doing what Steve did, this would probably be my choice.
Okay.
Because if I need to use a shield with one hand, I can use that.
Yeah.
If I can stab, is there something like armored in Minecraft at all? I haven't played Minecraft in years.
I guess the only thing specifically armored...
Well, like zombies and skeletons are armored,
they can spawn with armor.
Yeah, so if you have that, you can target the armored with thrusts or half sword.
Yeah, especially with PvP, other players in Minecraft, there is a lot of armor used.
Or if you're fighting skeletons, like you can bash them.
You can absolutely bash them.
Yeah, no. This is
Yeah.
very good for Steve's situation.
And actually, I can't take all the credit on this one. The actual design was done by a friend of mine named Kieran.
Ah.
So he actually sent me this design. He's a bit of an artist. So he drew this up for his realistic Steve, and I said, can I make that? And he said, totally. So yeah, Kieran completely designed this. And I was actually, one thing that drew me to his design was right here, how it spikes out a
The
bit.
flared?
Yeah.
Well, that is...
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to ask him if he did take inspiration from a longsword, but I thought that was a nice design on his part.
Not to take away from Kieran, but as soon as he said a realistic Steve, just a flood of cursed images like flowed through my head.
4K shit.
Yeah, a longsword would work very good in Steve's situation.
Yeah.
So far, we're 2 for 2. What's
Okay.
next?
So I guess we'll work backwards.
Okay. And what situation would this... Well, if this is, I imagine, since you do Fox stuff, imagine this would be like your personal sword for day carry and stuff, right?
Yeah, I designed this as my personal sword in a fantasy situation.
Okay. So what would your occupation be in a fantasy world?
I would assume bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter? Well, with bounty hunter, you know you're going up against, so like...
That is true.
You're fighting people?
Yeah.
Fighting people. Well, another thing that's good with this is because it's very open and it's long, it's easy to get. So quick deployment, and with the shorter blade is
Yeah.
very good.
Would the serration cause trouble getting it out of a scabbard?
Serration, well,
Could it get caught in there?
it depends how deep they are.
Okay.
Like, if they're deep like this, probably not, because if I grab this for a minute, you'll see... Oh, that doesn't want to come out. He did not like this. It gets thinner towards the base,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really matter. It's only thick up here, which you don't have the serrations here, so that wouldn't really affect anything, right?
Okay.
So that would work. So for people fighting, as we don't have to wear an armor or what, so you still want that good point.
Yeah.
And you still want to be able to do this.
Yes.
And you have those both. And this would work very well, assuming it was steel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Would work for that purpose. And much like the longsword, you can fight just about anything effectively.
Okay, cool.
So in this situation, if you're a bounty hunter and you're looking for Grogu, is that his name?
We are looking for Grogu.
We're looking for Grogu.
Yep.
This is adequate for finding Grogu.
Perfect.
All right. And I guess we know what the last two are in. We know what Link's doing.
Yeah, Link's doing his thing.
Link's doing his thing. Yak! Yak!
That's perfect.
Side jumping. So if we're fighting monsters, again, straight pointed blade, good.
Yep.
You can stab, you can cut. And Link uses Master Sword in one hand, right? Because he has the shield.
It was a mainly one-handed sword, yeah.
Yeah, so you can do either just fine.
Yeah.
Definitely can't go wrong with that kind of design. And since it's very similar to the last two, we don't need to spend so much time on it. One more thing though, scabbards can be used for defense, but Link has
How would
shield?
that work? Would it be like wielded on an arm almost?
No, because you normally have to hold the scabbard while you draw it, right?
Fair enough, yeah.
So if you can't get it out in time, you can always lift that up and brace it on your arm.
Okay.
So that gives you enough to draw that while you're binding and hit.
Nice.
There we go.
Alright, and the one I assume will not do very well.
Oh no.
The shish kebab.
I'm already
the
cringing.
king of impractical swords.
Sounds like someone's posting cringe. It's just a meme, Dick. Sit down.
Keep in mind it's on fire. That doesn't help.
Keep in mind it's on fire. Ah.
Speaking of that, with the actual shish kebab basically being up in flames, that can't be good for the quality of the blade, can it?
If it's not
Constantly being soaked in like a gasoline.
Oh, it's
and on
soaked
fire.
in...
Because I'm pretty sure the way it worked was this was like an igniter, and these fed gas up the blade.
Yeah, that would not be good for the blade.
No, yeah.
The sword would not be very durable.
No.
Is that man carrying a flaming sword? No, mother, it's just the Northern Lights. As I mentioned, it would have a lot of resistance in getting through anything.
Yeah.
And The Raiders, they were wearing like leather and stuff, right?
Leather, like a lot of scrap metal bent around their shoulders and things like that.
So scrap metal, it could probably get through. If
Yeah.
the leather isn't
It
boiled,
was typically rusted. That
Rusted.
metal. Like it was license plates, car parts.
so then probably yeah.
Actually, a lot of rebar. I see a lot of rebar on Raider armor. in
Rebar,
Fallout.
no, it would not get through rebar.
Okay. Like it was a lot of rebar cage.
We were just talking about a practical design of this. I think we left off on how the gasoline had been constantly ignited, not good for the blade.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of like armor on Raiders is like rebar, right?
Rebar and old metal. Typically.
Rebar and old metal.
They can also have leather. It basically it's level based. So earlier on Raiders will just have leather gear and things like that.
If it's like thin sheet metal, you can cut and thrust through that. If it's rebar, you'll be thrusting in between it,
Yeah.
but you can't cut through that.
Yeah.
And we mentioned the leather can be boiled
Yes.
to make it stronger. Boiled leather was a historical type of armor.
Yeah.
It's not the most resistant thing, obviously, but better than nothing. In a situation where you're fighting people who aren't trained, or they aren't trained, and imagine you can't get that much training from like with bladed weapons and Fallout. It's a lot of what you just pick up.
It's
while
typically a
going.
lot of what you pick up. Yeah.
You could adapt to like the weight, because not on yours, but the real shish kebab.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking, oh, so it's gonna stick in the target, right? So I'll use it like an axe, but all the weight's down here.
Yeah.
So I can't really use it at all.
Along with the problem of constant use, all the mechanics are just gonna get damaged
And I can't grab the blade because of.
because it's hot.
So all I want to do is thrust with it.
Yes.
I can't really do much else.
Yeah.
So
I'd recommend that would be a stabby boy.
Yeah,
You would be better off.
but even
taping
that
the-
would be a
you-
huge resistance.
Yeah, and you could tape that to a stick, and you'd have a flaming spear that'd be more practical than this as a sword, I believe.
Yeah, so really you're only going to get that much of stabbing and nothing else.
Yeah, unless you're trying to drive all that pipe through someone as well. Which,
I doubt it.
unless you're in power armor, good luck.
Yeah, and if you're in power armor, you're probably not going to be using something like this. You're probably going to have a lot of better options.
I'm sure.
We can't expect God to do all the work. So the shish kebab in general, definitely my least favorite.
Yeah.
There's so much wrong with the design. Did it come out in Fallout 3?
Yes, but I believe it's also in New Vegas.
New Vegas, okay.
It was attached to a backpack, had a tank.
Also made more sense in New
so,
Vegas.
Yeah, nothing was actually on here, really.
So it's almost like the Proto Sabers from Star Wars almost.
Exactly like the Proto Sabers from Star Wars.
Well, if it's as you say in New Vegas, that would work because you don't have a lot of
Yeah.
excess weight.
I would assume though the only downside of that is if someone cuts your fuel line, you just have a sword. It's no longer on fire.
Yeah. So thanks, Todd. Very cool. It
Just
doesn't just work.
It doesn't just work. You lied to us.
So if I were to rank them, it'd be this is Z tier. This doesn't even go on the tier list. Master Sword. But as you made it as a craft, it's good.
Okay.
It's just the shish kebab itself.
Yeah,
I don't
that
like.
is exactly how rating them would be good. Is like the functionality
Yeah.
of the weapon I've for you today.
Next would be probably the Master Sword.
Yeah.
Which nothing wrong against the Master Sword. It's just straight one-handed sword. Not a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's
rugged.
just kind of a good, reliable sword.
Next would be the I'm torn between the Diamond Sword and what's it, Foxfang?
Yes.
Because I like the shape of this a lot more. If the Diamond Sword had the handle of this, it would be
Yeah.
It would be
So
upside.
like the hybrid between those would be like your ideal weapon.
yes. So I prefer the blade on this, hilt on this.
Okay.
Mainly because you said this is more of a serrated instead of like the wavy blade.
Yeah, it was more of like the plan was like I liked your idea with the flamberge, but serration was a bit where I was going with it.
Well, if it's serration, that can get caught on like clothing and textile armors.
Okay.
So that can be a problem.
Yeah.
So definitely it would be then shish kebab, master sword. This will be in third, this will be in fourth.
Okay.
Then it's the nail?
The nail, yeah.
The nail. I'm having like a nerd gush over this.
You like it?
Yeah, the whole like Cinquedea with complex hilt. I'm really liking because it makes sense too. You have everything you need. If you want to bash with the guard, yeah. If you either want to put the disc or spike it, that'd work. If you want to stab with it to penetrate the shells, wide blade for cutting, but it's also you can grab and stab with it.
Looks like you could block with it as well. That huge flat blade.
Yeah, you could. Because if you're fighting enemies like bigger than you a lot?
Yeah, they're typically, you're very small. They are almost all, I can't name one smaller than you.
Then you'll definitely need to reinforce all your blocks and all that. And because it's shorter, you'll need to get really close to them, right?
Yes.
If I'm right next to you,
Your
what's more
reach
effective?
is very bad.
So if I'm right next to you, what's more effective? Probably this thing, right?
I don't even think that blade is 3 feet long. I don't even think it's 2.
This looks like 2.5.
Yeah. I don't even think that blade, it's very short blade.
So in its context, this is perfect.
Okay.
What I in like a historical or fantasy, I might even carry this as a day carry. I like this a lot.
Cool.
And even if you're fighting someone in full plate armor, this would still work really well. Because more often than not, you're getting right next to the guy in grappling range.
Mm-hmm. And is it better or worse that it's heavy?
Heavy?
Because it's got quite some weight to it.
Well, if the blade was also metal and this wide, it would just bring the weight around here. Mm-hmm. So if you're expecting to fight a lot of armored opponents, you want the weight back so you can do this.
Yeah.
And you also want more point control.
Okay.
So if the weight... I never checked the point of balance on this, did I? So this...
I have no idea where that weight is going to be because it's pretty much all the way through that metal bar with...
It's around here.
Okay.
This is about where you want it. This is actually perfect.
So it's actually in a good spot.
Yeah. No, this is great.
Okay.
Aside from my hands being too large for it, this is great. Definitely my favorite.
Yeah. So if there was a bit of a channel carved in those...
Yeah.
Like, I guess, swirls of...
Like comparing it to this kind of...
Yeah.
Definitely. This is my favorite. I like this a lot. Which one is your favorite? Probably the Fox Fang, right?
Yeah. My favorite guard is the Fox Fang, but I really like what I did with the blade on the nail.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the all the design that went into it. Like, I like, to an extent, I like them all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to pick a favorite.
I love all my children equally.
Yes, I love all my children equally. Did I design all of them? No. But did I build them? Yes.
This one's my favorite.
I'm glad.
I totally use this.
Zach approved?
Zach approved.
Fantastic.
Hilts, diamond sword, the blade of and guard and diamond sword are approved. The hilts of Fox Fang is approved. You can't go wrong with the master sword. Yeah. I think on the actual master sword, the grip, not the grip, but the guard is a bit bulky if I remember.
It's big.
So that'll bring the weight down.
I think my guard is actually a little small.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Master sword.
I think
it's scaled down a bit. Yeah.
I think every sword enthusiast has a problem with the master sword's guard.
It looks cool. It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It does its cool job, but I don't know enough about it to judge it. But yeah, it looks like it would be a bit of a problem.
And then shish kebab, just get out of my sight.
Shish kebab, you're a cool idea. You just don't work.
Shish kebab, more like no.
I mean, how could you not like Sword on Fire, but like with practicality?
Yeah.
Or practicality if you're trying to get kills with it.
It's just that it doesn't want to kill people. No. It's resisting itself a lot.
No, it's a pacifist weapon. It's a deterrent, if anything, really.
Yeah. So
I guess if you had to rate them.
This is 1. This is 2. This will be 3.
Sure.
The Master Sword would be 4, and there is no other one. Shish kebab does not exist.
Shish kebab's not on the tier list. You got it.
It does not exist. Yeah, that's what I like him.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you liked the nail as much as you did. I wasn't sure what you were gonna think of. Big triangle.
Big triangle.
Yeah.
Well, the small swords, some of them had like triangular blades.
Yeah.
Because you can't stitch triangular cross sections.
Yeah.
Though in an armored context, it'd be better if it was flat.
Better if it was flat.
Because if it's going to like a visor or something, or in between plates.
For sure.
For sure. So do you have any questions about their designs at all? Like, how would they be ideally used?
Yeah, like, I guess for each sword, like, would they all be good in, like, like a combat, like not as like a daily carrier you're walking to them.
Like if you're expecting to go into fight.
Like if you're taking them into battle, like how they would be used, I guess. Like we know from what you've told me that the nail serves as much purpose as it needs to within the context of the game. But like I guess my question would mainly be with I guess the diamonds, because we know master sword.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
We're
with
not
the
talking
Master
about
Sword.
flame boy, but diamond sword and fox fang. How well would those fare? Because I was just mainly concerned with the serration of, like, because you mentioned getting stuck on clothes and things like that. Would the serration not help rip through chainmail?
No.
No.
They are riveted together.
Fair enough.
It is metal. So ignoring the Master Sword and literal dumpster fire, we have... I definitely take this one.
Yeah.
Because I'm expecting to fight armor. On the battlefield, you definitely would. I would not want serrations.
No.
But as the aesthetic of like the fox fang, fox teeth,
Yeah.
I get what you were going for.
Okay, cool.
So from an aesthetic design, yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, the design is all right then. Just the whole practicality of it.
This would be a day carry, not for warfare.
Not for warfare. Okay, cool.
This would be, well, it's obviously the closest to the swords that were used in warfare.
Yeah.
Like your long sword and your arming sword. So for warfare, this would be what you would take.
Okay. That's cool. Good to know.
Good to know.
Other than that, though, I think that's all the questions I had. But yeah.
Yeah, we gotta hurry before we run out of camera space.
No kidding. Right?
No kidding.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Okay, so Eric will be back probably next video. Maybe Jack will make a return someday. Maybe I'll make a go to
Maybe
your
I'll make
channel.
a return with some spear work. You know.
Some spear work, yeah.
I'd like to learn.
Maybe you can do that today. I can show you a bit.
Sure. Sounds
Okay.
good.
So, anything to add? You wanna plug yourself?
All right. Well, I will plug myself. With that, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to go check out Marshall Nest, and have a good one.